C. Victor Herbert III. I'm still Dr. C. Victor Herbert III. And I'm taking it to the house.
And I'm Dr. Timothy Hoover. With my co-host here, we're going to take it to the house together. Vic, man, what an exciting week 2. We're into week 3 already of the NFL. Let's close out week 2 before we go into the third week completely. Man, what did you think about that Chiefs game and that Ravens game, man? I was wow. Because if you know what we talked about on this show, and let me back up. I need to thank all of you. If you're watching right now, whether you're on the app, on Facebook, on Roku, I want to say thank you for taking the time out just to listen to two brothers talk what we love to talk, which is sports. And so for the next 30 minutes or so, that's what we're going to do. We love to hear your opinion. But back to you, brother. The Ravens and Chiefs as a review. I know you have an opinion. Last week, I talked about I needed them to let him be a playmaker. And he showed up and showed out. Him being Lamar Jackson. Thank you, Harbaugh. Thank you, whoever the OC is. Thank you, Lamar. Take the ball and run. Do what you do, brother. Do what you do. Oh, yes. For those who don't know, he's on my fantasy team. Yes, he gave me all those points, and I won. And I'm really happy about it. But beside the point, the dude can ball. The dude can play. He can be a drop back quarterback if you want him to. He can scramble. He can extend the play. He can do whatever is required of him. Let him just make the play. Vic, I wanted to know what you thought about that game and his performance.
I have a few words to say. You're right. Do you want to go for it? Do you want to go for it? That's what you do with your leader. Coach didn't take that from him. Coach looked at his coach as his player, his star player, his franchise player, his leader. 4th and 1 against a team that been him a like 0-3. And before he decides to give the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hand, Harbaugh puts his career in Lamar's hands. He puts Lamar's reputation in his own hands. And guess what? He probably put the season in their hands. And he asked this young quarterback, full of moxie, who's coming off that bad performance against the Raiders. He come off a bad early half against the Chiefs, who owned him, and said, look, bro, we got a minute left. We can punt it to your boy Patty, who's going to go down here and do what he do, a la the new era of Tom Brady. And I can try to trust my defense to keep them out of field goal range when we know what happened last week against the Raiders. Or I can give you the rock, and you can either pass it and try to get a first down. You can, try to draw the other team off sides. You can run it or what else. But I'm going to ask you, do you want to go for it? And this young kid is like, I don't care what adversities I just faced. I want to take their heart. I want to take their heart. And he did it. Do you know how bad I felt as a Ravens fan that on this show last week, that I had a pick against my boys? Not pick against them because I'm trying to get paid from gambling. Not pick against them from some doggone spread. I had to go against my boys because for some reason I lack trust. I should never pick against my boys. I could be 0-16 on this show against picks. I talked to you last year about prognostication. I ain't that dude. But I tell you what, boy came in and he represented. Oh my goodness, to know that I was not at that game. But that is everything we talk about in sports. The drama, the suspense, the comedic side of it. I mean, you saw him do a flip inside the end zone. You cannot take away the emotions of what that game meant. So You asked me how I felt, and again, you shared as on behalf of a fantasy team owner. I had nothing invested other than my reputation and the fact that I live here in a DMV, and I'm just waiting for someone to ask me why your boys are 0-2. But no, they represented. I'm so proud of them because they showed something. They showed a lot. And to your point, we speak about it a lot. I'm a leader. My daytime job, I'm a leader development guru. One thing I talk about to my clients: be yourself. The best leader is being yourself. Understand your strengths, understand your areas of development, and be you. And when an organizational leader has trust in their subordinates or their employees and allow them to be them, maximize their successes, minimize their failures, put resources around them to exceed and excel, they'll do it. We know week one that was not the same Lamar Jackson we wanted to see. Let the boy ball. He played so apprehensive against the Raiders, but there's a whole shift that we saw against Kansas City. I love that the offense has opened up. Allow him to pass. He loves to pass. But don't put this dude in a box. He's not supposed to be in a box. Let him do him. And he did it great. So, yeah, you asked me what I think about that game all day long, baby. Go for it. Oh, that was great. That was great. Oh, man. Now I have some really good that did something for confidence because you had me You told me to pick what's third place in this division, NFC North. And after last week, I was really seriously like, wow, my boys may make me out to be a doggone liar. But I tell you what, they showed out. That confidence builder there can be a lot for the rest of this season. And I still pick my boys to win this division. Great game overall. And it's great to be a football fan for week 2. That's great. Two weeks of great Sunday night football. That's what I got to say about it.
I love Lamar. I love his humility, his post-game conference. I was listening to him, how he got the monkey off his back. And he takes his craft serious. I love the way he approaches the game. And you can tell how much time he's put into the game as a quarterback, as a leader. And then I want to talk about and reflect on the pick six and the other interception, how you saw the fumbles a week ago, against the Raiders. What does it say about his character? You hear what I'm saying? Because a lot of people would be beaten down. I'm letting my team down. I'm letting myself down. No, this is what happens in football, and you dust yourself off and you just keep on going. So I love him and I applaud him for picking himself up, looking himself in the mirror and telling himself to man up. And he did, because he could have easily just disappeared, if you will. And he did not. Led his team back to that victory when all the lights were on him. There were no other games being played. Okay, so the whole nation and every football fan was focusing on how he was going to perform, and he did that. He shined. Thank you, Lamar. Thank you. I was thoroughly entertained, and as a fan, just of football and sports in general, wow, and wow. You're right. That great call. 4th and 1. I was thinking punt it, but you don't want to punt to the Brady's, the Mahomes, the Rodgers who can drive down, and it doesn't matter how much time is on. It seems like they make it in the time that they need and win with a field goal or a touchdown. So I agree with you 100%, man. Wow, that was gutsy. He pulled it off, and when he got that 4th and 1, when he got the ball, he kind of hesitated. It was peeking around looking for his hole. Then he found the hole and just kind of laid into the hole. I was like, okay, this boy is just cat and mouse because he's that good. And he's just, wow. Again, to your point, don't put him in a box. Let Lamar be Lamar. Let him shine. Another game I wanted to talk about was the Green Bay-Detroit game. So you know what Green Bay did the week before against New Orleans, and New Orleans just went down there and Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay didn't show up. Everybody else did. The other team did, that being New Orleans. And yet did last week when they beat up on Detroit, and Detroit was winning at the half. Does that vindicate them? Now Green Bay is 1-1. It was Detroit. But it doesn't, to me, in my humble opinion, make up for that first week showing. It was a lack of showing, if you will. So let's go back a year. You're in the NFC Conference Finals. You have all off season. You would think you'd be hungry, hate juice, whatever. You've been biting on bullets, training to get back at this season to get it started. And then you show up for that first game like that. So, my original question to you, Vic: Green Bay, Detroit, does that validate, vindicate? Does that give them anything? Give us anything as talking heads to say, okay, Green Bay is, quote unquote, are they back?
Let me ask you this. I love the question. Let's take it back to boxing real quick. Do you remember when Mike Tyson fought Evander Holyfield?
Yes.
Do you remember when Mike Tyson fought, I don't know, Lennox Lewis?
Yes.
But do you remember when he fought anybody before those fights? The tune-up matches?
No. I get you.
That's how I looked at that Detroit game. That's a tune-up match.
Okay.
The game, the Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, the Tyson Lewis, the Evander Lewis is that game against the Saints. First game of the season. Aaron Rodgers has made a big point in the offseason of who he was and what he was going to do or not return. And he got punched in the mouth.
Right.
And we're like, whoa, was that the Buster Douglas situation? What was that? And then you had your tune-up match before the real match, which is next week. Who is Detroit? Let me know the last time Detroit was relevant. Okay, let's think about the last time Barry Sanders had a uniform on. Or maybe when Megatron, even then they weren't doing much. So thank you, Aaron Rodgers, for doing what you're supposed to do against who you're supposed to do it against. It's the doormat of the NFC North. That was your tune-up match. No one will even remember that game next week. And the fact that you played them twice in a year, no one will remember when you play them again. That's how insignificant that game was. It's a tune-up match. He didn't have a preseason. So maybe that's what that was for him, a confidence builder. And we can thank the NFL schedule makers for putting that so early on to help possibly rebound his confidence. I wasn't really impressed because, as you stated, Detroit jumped up in them because they forgot who they were. They actually thought they were a team that can be competitive, that can give us a great Monday night game. And I told you last week, how are they going to put this game on Monday night? Who wants to see Detroit on Monday night? It's bad enough watching Detroit on Thanksgiving. So to sit here and think, wow, this should be a good game, and actually watch the first half and say, Detroit is giving them a run. At that point, I said, what is Aaron doing or not doing? Because how is this game even halfway competitive? Aaron did what he's supposed to do. They made their halftime adjustments. They came out there and they blasted the guys. It's kind of hard to watch the highlights and really think, wow, Aaron's back. Again, that's the tune-up match. I want to see when they play somebody for real. And we've already gave them the credit that they win the NFC North because of those teams they play twice a year who really, other than Minnesota, will pose the bigger threat. So I wasn't too impressed. He did what he's supposed to do. But again, I'm waiting to see a little bit more sample size because to me, that was a tune-up match for whatever the next part of the season is going to bring them. What you think?
That's fair. That's fair. To your point, to me, it mattered not. It mattered not. You make a very good point because nobody remembers the other tune-up fights that Tyson fought. Nobody remembers those. They remember when he was fighting the Buster Douglas, the Evander Holyfields, the significant fights. But he was tenacious, Tyson being tenacious, and that's what the Packers were lacking, that tenacity and not taking every game serious. And so I take nothing away from that game other than they did what they were supposed to do. And I like your point. Detroit forgot who they were and made a game of it in the first half until they woke up. And it was like, okay, it's 12 o'clock and the pumpkin, the coaches turn it into a pumpkin. Okay, now, Cinderella, the slipper, all the Cinderella analogies you can make. Moving on. So after 2 weeks, and we had the third week start last night. We won't talk about that as much, but after 2 weeks, we want to tie a bow on our predictions. So after the 2 weeks, does that factor into your preseason Super Bowl picks, or is there a change of mind? Because I'm going to go first before you. And I'm going to tell you before the season started, and I'm going to stick with my choices. I picked the Green Bay Packers to go. I did. And I still do. And because I'm a man of my word and I'm going to stick with it, I'm picking the Green Bay Packers. And I say the Kansas City Chiefs go back for the third year in the row. Now, going back to last week's game, the Ravens showed how susceptible the Chiefs are. What's wrong with the Chiefs? But I'm going to stick with them because offensively, they're so potent. They got holes on the defense. Aaron Rodgers, they got holes on the defense. So I was making these picks based on last year's projection and what I thought these guys were going to be able to do. If I had to change my mind, I would, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because we got 17 games in this season and we got 15 weeks left for these guys to get it together. I believe they were shore up some of their deficiencies, that being on defense for both of those teams. And I'm not going to choose my winner for those two teams, being Green Bay and Kansas City. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but I believe they will be on the NFC top, the AFC top, and face each other for the Super Bowl when the season and when the dust settles. What say you, sir?
I like that. I agree. And to our fans, again, we want to be as honest as possible as we are going to be, and we will be. And he's right. Our picks that we've had, because we enjoyed the show so much, we only have 30 minutes. We've had these picks for a couple of weeks. You know, we stretched out our picks the last 3 weeks. So, yes, before the season, if I had the envelope that's sealed, you would see that we've already made our picks before the season started. Has my decision, has my idea of what the season may unfold changed? Oh, yes, it has significantly based on the 2 weeks back sample of work. However, to your point, my AFC team will change or has changed, but what I picked before the season started was a Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, the reason why, because they're the best team in the AFC. Going into this season, best in the AFC, best coached, best offense, best player. Hands down. Who's going to refute that? Going into the first game of this season, based off of last year's body of work, best team. There's no one else that could come against them. And I'm going to qualify that a little later. NFC team, Tampa Bay. I see a repeat. I see a repeat Super Bowl. What Tom Brady was able to do last year, and now you give them a full offseason, those guys are even more hungrier than they were last year. I see them entering this season with a chip on their shoulder. Why? Because Tom Brady played with a chip on his shoulder for 20 years, and he took that same chip from New England, put on his shoulder down there in Tampa Bay, and said, Gronk, you want some too? Hey, Antonio Brown, don't you need a chip? Because if you don't, here goes one. I got enough of them. And they're going to use that fuel. Bruce Arians is going to keep them guys motivated and hungry and say, you own this conference. What more motivation for Tom Brady to not only win Super Bowls for multiple teams, but in 2 different conferences? I mean, dang. Yes. Peyton Manning did it. They did it in AFC. Tom Brady says, I'll take care of the AFC and represent these Lombardis for the AFC conference. NFC, I see you felt a little bit ignored and neglected. I'm going to go over here and compete against these other quarterbacks since I done made Peyton Manning retire. I don't have any more competition in the AFC. I'm going to go ahead and put Drew Brees out the pasture, let him learn how to commentate. And then I'm going to go take Aaron Rodgers' lunch and have him spinning around circles. And I got the rest of these young guys over here. So I see Tom Brady in Tampa Bay making a clinic out of NFC and making that repeat. Now, as you stated, what has changed over the last couple of weeks.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
Now, based what I see in the real world, Kansas City's been exposed. Cleveland Browns should have won that game. Now, Cleveland Browns are no longer the Detroit Lions team of the AFC, but they'll always be the Detroit Lions team of the AFC North. Because why? Because I got the Steelers and I got my Ravens team. But I'm gonna tell you what, Browns ain't playing. And I like to believe what the Browns did to Kansas City in the playoffs last year and in the first game of the season this year is enough of a sample size and template where the Ravens knew they could run all up and down the Kansas City Chiefs. And they saw that they're soft in the middle, like a Twinkie, ding dong, or a ho-ho cake all day long. And so what happened last week, what other teams with strong running games, a la Tennessee Titans, Buffalo Bills, who else has something for Kansas City? They'll make the adjustments, but their defense is susceptible. And I see that can be the weak link in them having a chance to make it back to the AFC. And if they don't make it to the AFC Championship, let alone Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised. But as we stated early on, I will stick to my pick, was Kansas City. But I see weaknesses. Okay. I see a weakness.
Okay. Producer, please mark the tape. Fans out there, we want you to send in your Super Bowl picks. Give me your division winners and give me your Super Bowl picks. Don't pick the Super Bowl winner just yet unless you're that bold. But we want you to participate with us. Let's have fun. Let us know who your team is, who you're repping. And then let's talk about it. You can hit us up on Facebook. Okay? We have Taken It to the House Twitter feed. We want to know what you think. Vic, let's transition to this next week coming forward. Okay, we got a heavyweight in the Bay, brother. A heavyweight game in the Bay. That's Green Bay against San Francisco. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, who grew up from NorCal. Okay, wanted to be drafted by the 49ers. And you talk about Detroit last week was just a tune-up, maybe just to get warmed up. You're not going to find that in the Bay. You're going to be in the middle of a fight. Okay, if you don't want to get bit, you need to stay on the porch, as they used to say. You know, if you don't want to play with the dogs, if you don't want to get bit by the fleas, they say, don't play with the dogs. Well, they're getting ready to play with the dogs. Okay, my nephew Mike, shout out to you, Brew. That's his team. The 49ers are not to be played with. But one common thing we have talked about in the last 5 to 10 minutes is defense seemingly hasn't shown up. You notice the scores on these games? We're talking about Kansas City. We're talking about your team, the Ravens, known for the defense, giving up the goods. Okay, and Green Bay, I don't know what has happened. So Frisco as well is giving up that defense, and they're showing a lot of holes as well. But their offense, when you got Kittle and whoever else on the receivers, but you start with Kittle, they're hurt at the running back position. Garoppolo is good enough. He's good enough. Matter of fact, he was going to be the heir apparent in New England. And if he could stay healthy, I think he can do well for them. But nonetheless, you got a great coach and a great organization up there that I know that they can give Green Bay some fits. So I'm going to go on them, and I'm going to say this is San Francisco's game to lose. It's San Francisco's game to lose. That would put Green Bay at 1-2 for the season. Then I have to say, and I chose them for my Super Bowl pick. Then I would have to do like Carl Lewis when he sang the national anthem. You know, but that's that's what we're down to. It's no more tune-ups. If you want to play with the big boys, you're going to have to play. There's no more tucking your ball in. There's no more going home just because you got hit. It's now to show up. What say you? Green Bay in the Bay with Frisco. Give me some analysis on that, sir.
I love your pick. San Francisco's nasty. Back in the days, people would look at the NFC West as almost like a soft division. Them boys play hard. I am always going to be partial to AFC North, so I'll do a lot of my comparisons to the AFC North. They play defense in the NFC West. One thing that we cannot overlook, yes, San Francisco's been beat up, but they traveled to the East Coast last week to play against the what used to be known as one of the hardest divisions, the Philadelphia Eagles. And as you talked about defense, that game was 17-11. There was some scrapping going on up in there. You don't have no 17-11 score without someone getting their head busted in. And San Francisco was doing some serious head busting. So and that was an early game, which means they had to fly from the West Coast to the East Coast, play a 1 o'clock Eastern time game, and busted them out. Yes, they came out with some casualties. They lost a couple players, which makes them susceptible to a loss against Green Bay. But they rised up. My pick is San Francisco to win this game. I like to see Jim. This is also a breakout game for Garoppolo. He knows he's on the clock. He was known to be the heir apparent in New England. They made a significant trade to bring him out to San Francisco. He had the injuries. He led that team to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. So it's one of those, who are you? Will the real Jimmy G please stand up? And this will be one of those nationally televised games where you got Aaron Rodgers coming home to show that this game against Detroit was a tune-up match, and I'm coming to take your heart because I was in the NFC Championship game. I am the reigning MVP. So there's a lot riding on that. And you're right, 1 and 2 coming out this game, it's a whole different narrative. And I chose San Francisco to be second place in the division because I believe that they are that powerful. There's not more powerful than the Rams. So I'm picking San Francisco, even though they had injuries, and they're going to bust them in the mouth because I still have to identify, was it the New Orleans Saints, the real team, or was it Detroit Lions as a competitor? Because whatever defense New Orleans threw up against Green Bay had Aaron Rodgers seeing ghosts. And I know San Francisco don't play around. There are no imposters. Those dudes are real. Those are the dudes when you walk down the street talk about, you know what? I don't want to look at this dude in the eye the wrong way because he may think I'm trying to start something. I'm going to walk on the other side of the street. That's who San Francisco is. And I believe that they will bring it. And I believe in Kyle Shanahan. And that defense, again, will have something for them. And the last point, because the way Aaron has started the last 2 weeks, very slow in his process, you can't do that against San Francisco. I would expect San Francisco to make him pay for that.
Agree. Our last pick, sir, a preview. We got Tampa Bay on the road going to LA, the Rams. And so we got a division leader there. And for you, that's a Super Bowl pick. And Tampa Bay, they're 2-0 right now. Tom Brady, 5 touchdowns last week. The offense seems to be clicking on all cylinders. The defense, okay. But then when you do talk about defense, the Rams do have a defense. And Matthew Stafford, first year under the leadership, quarterbacking for the Rams. And so I expect a shootout, all-out brawl, shootout at the OK Corral kind of a thing. But if I have to pick, if a gun is to my head, I got a Mossberg, and they're saying, give up the goods, make a pick. You know what? I'm going with Tom Brady on the road in SoFi Stadium to win that game. One, he's not intimidated by the stage, okay? You talked about Tampa Bay earlier. They brought about, I think all of their starters are back, with the exception of Brown, I think he got COVID. He's placed on the COVID list as of today or yesterday. So with the exception of him, I think everybody else is going to be in the game and playing. Their defensive linebacking core is probably the best linebacking core in the league, maybe barring a few other teams. So Tampa Bay, they do take their show on the road. It does travel. Tom Brady is not going to be intimidated. Gronk, you can see what he's doing. He's having an outstanding season. He seemingly is unstoppable, especially in the goal line or in the red zone. Uh, but the Rams are good enough just to make it a game. But I still pick the Buccaneers. What's your choice?
This is the NFC Conference Championship preview. Yes, that's the NFC Conference Championship preview. That's how bold I believe this game is and what it sets the stage for. I know your pick is Green Bay to make it to the Super Bowl, which means you pick Green Bay to be one of the representatives in the NFC Conference Championship. I don't see that. I see this. Now, Matt Stafford has a team that he's never had before, in the sense where he has keys to an ignition. He's got this car. Sean McVay is excited, and he's letting them play with the toy. And they're doing great. They look great. This is because we haven't been able to see Matt Stafford for those years, or as he was in Detroit's purgatory. It made it very difficult to really feel like, who is this cat? Is he throwing up numbers because they've been down, they've been losing? So that's why he has high stats. This kid can ball. He can ball. However, he'd never been in a game in Detroit that mattered. That mattered. So when you're playing against Tom Brady, the GOAT, who's coming to your house, who's also from Cali, you don't think he has something to say? Again, we talked about the chip on his shoulder. He said, I owned the AFC for 20 years. Now I'm coming to take the NFC's heart too. And if I can play for 6 more years till I'm 50, I'll do that and win all the stuff and win in every stadium here in the NFC as well. I believe Tampa Bay is going to come. It's going to be a shootout because right now defenses are still trying to find out how to play this year. They're still trying to come off the offseason. And I believe Tom. Did you see what Tom did last week? I mean, that was sad. That was Mike Tyson going to fight some college kids on a circuit, on a travel circuit, on exhibition. That was sad. I felt bad for me. I felt really bad for Atlanta Falcons because it was like, you know what, guys, I could make this very competitive and we can stop now. But I'm really going to take your heart. 5 touchdown passes. He set a record for quarterback over the age of 44. 5 touchdown passes. Not because he scored 5 touchdown passes in a game. The previous record by Vinny Testaverde was 5 touchdown game. 5 touchdowns in a season. Tom Brady already eclipsed that in 2 weeks. This dude is on something else, man. It's like incredible. So it is must-see TV. NFL needs to turn off all the other games and let us watch that one. I don't even know if that's the Sunday night game or Monday night game. It should be the featured game. Why would you not flex the schedule so everyone watches that? There is so much excitement in that. Thank goodness, shameless plug, I have DirecTV. I will be watching that. So I definitely look forward to watching that game, but Tampa Bay all day long. I would like to see how Matt Stafford shows up, what lessons learned. This is the clash of the Titans, both teams undefeated. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a very great game. And again, NFC Championship preview. Mark my words, Steve.
Health. Tom Brady to play this way, this great at this advanced age, tells me that he's put a lot of time and money into nutrition, his body. Played last year on a bum knee. Okay, didn't complain. Nobody knew about it and led them to the Super Bowl. But I admire when somebody is so dedicated, so serious. We talked about it on here. How he put his family away so he can get locked up in a basement so he can get ready for the Super Bowl. Mind over matter. But he's also taking matter seriously, matter being his body. To be at that age, playing so well, LeBron James spends over $1 million on his body. So, to be able to run, jump, stop on a dime like LeBron does. In Brady's point is to let 200, 300-pound men hit him. And even when it's not a sack, just hit him, touch him up, and he's going down. And I cringe just thinking about it because I'm hurting and nobody has to touch me. But Tom Brady, LeBron James, and the few that are out there who are just physical freaks, I admire that God-given and what you've also done with God-given intelligence to put it back into the investment, which is your body, to be able to play at these high levels of success. So salute to all of you. Vic, it's another week done. And so I just want to say thank you, Vic. Thank you for your analysis. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you, fans, for tuning in for wherever you may be. We are here every week, right about this time. But again, we want to know your opinion. We want to know your team. We want to know if we're hitting the mark. We want to know if we're sucking at what we're doing. That's okay. I got big shoulders and I can take criticism from you and anybody else. That's all right. Hit me up. Let me know. We're thankful again for another weeks, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Unc. As always, loved how you're taking it to the house. It's been a great partnership. It's been a great friendship. It's been a great run. We're just getting started. As we talked about, it's only week 2, and we have our reboot on our second season of this show. And as you all see, this is live. So enjoy this time. Enjoy this growth opportunity with us. Definitely hit us up on our Twitter. Let us hear you. We want to hear you take it to the house. If it's good enough, we're going to talk about it on air. So enjoy this next week of football. Enjoy this next week of college ball. Just enjoy this next week of life. Tune in to us next week. Take care. Be safe. Enjoy, but be safe.
Yes.
Holla at you all next week. Take care. Take it to the house is out.